Lately I find myself just going through the motions sometimes, and I'm surrounded by so much stuff, so many choices, options, but there's this feeling like something really important is missing underneath it all.
I think many people feel that.
It's like the more we seem to get, the less truly satisfied we feel. Does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very common feeling today.
It's
kind of, well, a sort of weight, perhaps, that comes with all this supposed abundance.
Yeah, a weight. That's it, exactly. And it's got me thinking, maybe we're looking for happiness in the wrong place entirely.
How so?
But what if the real path to feeling, genuinely content isn't about adding more, but actually taking things away, like stripping back all the non-essentials?
Subtracting to gain. That can sound a bit backward, can't it?
Yeah.
Especially when everything around us screams, get more.
It really does.
But think about it. What happens when we try to carry too much? Physically, I mean?
You get weighed down, it's hard to move freely.
Exactly. It becomes a burden. And emotionally, spiritually, maybe it's similar.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of something I came across. This Buddhist idea, tanha. Is that right?
Yes, tanha.
Yeah.
Often translated as thirst or craving.
Right, craving. And it just clicked how much of our sort of background anxiety seems to come from that constant wanting. It feels like trying to fill a bucket that has no bottom,
Right.
You achieve something, get something, and then instantly your mind's already on to the next thing. It's never enough.
That's precisely the nature of tanha as the Buddha described it. It's seen as the root of dukkha suffering, or maybe better, unsatisfactoriness.
Unsatisfactoriness, yeah.
Because that yearning, that grasping, it just can't ever be fully satisfied. By its very nature, it fuels itself, the satisfaction is fleeting, and then the cycle starts again. Your bottomless bucket image is quite apt.
It's exhausting, isn't it, honestly? I see it in myself all the time. That little buzz you get from a new purchase or hitting some goal, it fades so fast. And then you're right back to looking for the next fix, the next thing to fill that gap.
And perhaps as we move through life, this pattern can become a bit clearer. Maybe we start to see it more starkly.
You mean with age?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
There can be a kind of clarity that comes. You look back at all the things you chased, all the effort.
Yeah.
And you start to question, well, was all that striving really necessary? Was it truly fulfilling?
Yeah.
As maybe your time feels, well, different. There's often a shift towards seeking meaning now, in this moment, not in what's next.
Okay, so if this constant craving, this tanha, is making us feel so unsettled, how do we actually start to, step off that treadmill? How do we break the cycle?
Well, let's try a metaphor. Imagine your mind is like a bowl of clear water.
Okay.
Now, when external things, desires, worries, constant stimulation keep stirring that water up, what happens?
It gets cloudy, murky, you can't see through it.
Exactly, obscured. But what if you gently put the bowl down, let it be still?
The sediment, it settles, right? The water becomes clear again.
Precisely. Our minds aren't so different. Stillness allows for clarity, for seeing things as they are, without the turbulence of constant wanting.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. Finding stillness inside. It connects with what you said about maybe priorities shifting as people get older. You often see people valuing presence, just being with loved ones, quality over quantity. It's less about achieving and more about appreciating.
Yes, I think that's a kind of wisdom emerging. An intuitive grasp that the real richness of life isn't in how much we have, but how mindfully we experience what's already here.
Savoring what is.
Instead of always reaching for what isn't.
Can you maybe share an example, like a story of someone who actually made that shift? Found joy by simplifying, by letting go?
I do recall reading about a woman named Margaret, a retired teacher, I believe. And she was a collector. Her home was just full of beautiful things she'd gathered over decades.
Okay.
And these things, they were part of her identity. But over time, they started to feel heavy, like an obligation, almost stressful to manage.
I can imagine.
It wasn't until she made a conscious choice to start, well, decluttering, not just physically, but emotionally, letting go of her attachment to these objects.
What happened?
She described this incredible sense of lightness, freedom. And suddenly, she started noticing simple things again, like the way sunlight moved across her room, or the sound of birds outside her window, things that had been kind of drowned out before.
Wow, so letting go of this stuff actually created space for joy and simple presence.
It seems so. It suggests that joy wasn't really in the objects, but in her state of mind, her perception. which leads us naturally to mindfulness.
Right, mindfulness, that practice of just being present.
Exactly, intentionally paying attention to this moment right now without judging it. It acts like a bridge, connecting us back to that simpler, more fundamental sense of well-being.
It sounds so straightforward, live in the present. But gosh, I find it really hard sometimes. My mind just loves to wander off, back to the past or worrying about the future.
It's very common. Our minds are conditioned to do that. In the Buddhist tradition, the practice is called sati. It's about deliberately anchoring your awareness, right here, right now,
Anchoring, I like that.
without getting tangled up in thoughts about the moment, just experiencing it directly. Remember that image you used earlier, standing barefoot on cool grass at dawn?
Yeah.
It's that. Feeling the coolness, smelling the air, seeing the light change, not thinking about feeling the coolness, just feeling it. Direct, unfiltered experience.
That feels so peaceful just picturing it. But it also highlights, it takes real conscious effort to stay there, doesn't it? To gently pull the mind back from its usual chatter.
It does take effort, especially at first, like strengthening a muscle. But the wonderful thing is you don't need a special time or place. You can practice mindfulness within your ordinary life.
How? Like amidst the busyness.
Think about everyday activities, maybe gardening or cooking a meal, even just washing the dishes. If you bring your full attention to the sensations, the feel of the soil, the smell of onions chopping, the warmth of the water on your hands, these mundane tasks can actually become moments of meditation.
Turning chores into rituals almost.
In a way, yes. And it connects to deeper things too. Patience, watching a plant grow, impermanence, seeing ingredients transform as you cook, interconnectedness, realizing where your food comes from, the water you use.
I really like that, finding something sacred in those simple, everyday things.
And it's not just a nice feeling. There's growing scientific understanding too, right, about the benefits.
Oh, definitely. Research shows mindfulness can genuinely help with things like stress reduction, better focus, emotional regulation.
Which can be especially helpful as we navigate the challenges that life inevitably brings, perhaps more so as we age. Things like managing chronic pain, for instance.
Right, pain and loss, those seem like huge hurdles where this might help. How does mindfulness work there?
With pain, for example, it's less about making the pain disappear and more about changing your relationship to it, observing the sensations without the extra layer of mental resistance or fear.
So noticing it without fighting it so hard.
Exactly. And with difficult emotions like grief, mindfulness allows you to be present with the feeling, acknowledging it without being completely swept away by it. You observe it arising, changing, passing.
Like watching clouds move through the sky, maybe?
That's a beautiful image for it. And interestingly, by becoming more present with ourselves, we often find we can connect more authentically, more deeply with other people too.
That makes sense. It's hard to connect when you're lost in your own head. Do you have another story, maybe? Someone who used mindfulness to navigate something really tough, like loss.
There was a story I encountered about a man named Harold, a widower. After his wife died, he fell into a deep depression, felt very isolated, lost his sense of purpose, just adrift.
Oh, that's so hard.
Terribly hard. But someone encouraged him to try a mindfulness workshop. He started with very simple things, just focusing on his breath for a few minutes, taking short, mindful walks, really noticing the sounds and sights around him.
Did it help?
Gradually, yes, very slowly at first. But by anchoring himself in the present moment, again and again, he started to, re-emerge. He began finding small pockets of peace, even joy, in ordinary daily life, rediscovering a sense of connection and, eventually, purpose.
Wow. That's incredibly moving. It really shows the power of just presence, even when things feel overwhelming.
It truly does.
So if someone listening is thinking, okay, I want to try this, I want to cultivate more mindfulness, what are some really simple, practical first steps? Where do they start?
The key is gentleness and consistency. Don't try to do too much at once. First, maybe just start with your breath. A few times a day, pause and consciously feel the sensation of breathing in, breathing out, just for a minute or two.
Okay, breath awareness. Simple enough.
Second, pick one, maybe two routine activities you do every single day, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee or tea. And just try to bring your full non-judgmental attention to the sensations involved, the taste, the smell, the feeling.
Anchoring in daily activities. Got it.
And third, maybe cultivate a little gratitude practice. At the end of the day, or perhaps first thing in the morning, consciously bring to mind one or two small things you genuinely appreciate. A sunny moment, a comfortable chair, a friendly exchange, anything.
Noticing the good stuff, however small.
Exactly. It helps train the mind to see what's already here, anchoring us in the present goodness.
It really sounds like this whole journey, finding joy in simplicity, practicing mindfulness, it's fundamentally about changing how we see things, isn't it? A shift in perspective.
That's a huge part of it, yes. Recognizing that the sacred, the profound, it isn't necessarily out there in some grand event. It can be found right here, in the ordinary moments of our lives.
The sacred in the ordinary. I love that. But how do we make that shift? It sounds lovely, but how do we actually start seeing it that way? Our minds are so used to overlooking the mundane.
It often begins with intention. And perhaps another story helps illustrate. Think of Clara, a retired nurse. Her career had been her identity, her purpose. When it ended, she felt adrift, her contribution diminished.
Like Harold, in a way.
Similar, yes.
Yeah.
But one day, she was just watering her plants, quite automatically. And she suddenly really noticed the intricate way a new leaf was unfurling, the sheer wonder of it.
A small moment.
A tiny moment. But it sparked something. She started bringing that same mindful attention to other simple things, preparing her food, talking with a neighbor, small acts of kindness she could still offer. She began to see the inherent value, the quiet sacredness in these everyday occurrences. It's like catching a glimpse, what some traditions call kensho, into the interconnectedness of it all.
It really highlights how much power there is in those seemingly small actions and moments we usually just rush through.
Absolutely. And another key piece here is non-attachment.
Non-attachment. Letting go.
Letting go of rigid expectations, mainly. When we stop demanding that things be a certain way, perfect or predictable, or matching our ideal, we free ourselves up to appreciate them as they actually are.
Can you give an example of that?
I think about making dinner. If you're rigidly attached to it being a gourmet masterpiece, you might get stressed, frustrated if something goes wrong. But if you practice non-attachment, you can mindfully engage with the process, chopping vegetables, smelling the spices, appreciating the simple act of nourishment, even if it doesn't turn out perfectly.
There's definitely a freedom in releasing that pressure, that need for things to be perfect. It lets you just be with the experience more.
Exactly. And closely related is embracing impermanence, the Buddhist concept of anicca.
Change. The idea that everything changes.
Yes. Truly understanding and accepting that everything, moments, feelings, life itself is constantly changing, flowing. Paradoxically, this understanding can lead to a deeper appreciation of the present. Think of autumn leaves. Their incredible beauty is partly because we know it's fleeting, that they won't last. Recognizing impermanence encourages us to cherish the moments we have while we have them, not grasping, but appreciating.
That's actually quite comforting in a way. It takes the pressure off trying to hold on to things forever and lets you just value the now, because the now is all there really is.
Precisely.
So bringing it all together then, concrete ways to find this joy and simplicity day to day, what would you suggest?
Well, building on what we said, first, try creating small, intentional rituals around mundane tasks. Bring your full attention, maybe a sense of care, to making your bed or washing up.
Infusing the ordinary with presence.
Second, actively practice gratitude for simple pleasures. The warmth of the sun, the taste of water, a comfortable silence. Really notice and acknowledge them.
Training the appreciation muscle.
And third, look for small opportunities for kindness. Holding a door, offering a genuine smile, listening fully to someone. These acts remind us of our connection and bring inherent joy.
It feels like maybe aging isn't just about things winding down. Maybe it's more like a distillation, a process that clarifies what truly matters.
That's a beautiful way to put it. A distillation, yes. Revealing the essence. Inner peace, mindful presence, connection, gratitude.
These seem to be the things that hold lasting value, don't they?
They do. And the most profound part, perhaps, is realizing that this deeper joy, this contentment, it isn't something you have to chase endlessly or achieve finally.
It's here now.
It's inherently available in every single moment if we could just quiet the noise enough to perceive it.
So it's really an invitation then to just open our eyes, to pause and really see what's already around us and within us.
Yes, to gently open our eyes and our hearts to the simple, profound richness of just being.